Before we start, I just wanted to take a minute to say a couple of things. Number one is if you are here because you follow the psychology content that I put out, then this is actually an adjunct to that. So, model building for me is a part of self care. Self care is really important to anybody's mental health. And so that's what I'm trying to promote by these modeling videos. And I want to do more of that. So I may do some skiing videos and some scuba diving videos. And hopefully those will be things that you will enjoy. If you don't like building models, obviously, you won't probably want to watch the entire video, but maybe you'll like it. Who knows? If you are here because you enjoy building models, then I hope that the content that I put out is informative and that you get something from it and that you'll return again and again. Obviously, I'm not fast with my model building, and so my content does tend to be somewhat delayed in its presentation, and I hope that that works for everybody's schedule. I hope that the information that you get out of this is worth the time that it takes for me to be able to put these videos together. And who knows, maybe you'll go through some of the psychological content that I put out and you'll find that interesting and worthwhile. Either way, let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, please. As always, subscribe to the channel. That is the most beneficial thing for me. And you can even hit the bell and get notifications if that's something that you're interested in. So hopefully you will enjoy the show. Okay, so far what I have is one side of the command module drilled out. So that's making the markings there using the window from the Paragraphics kit. And then I colored in the inside so I knew how much to take out, and I used a small drill, this pin vise right here, to start some holes around the perimeter, and then using a very sharp X-Acto cutting out the shape. So you go inside the marks that you've made so that you have a little bit of material to cut out to make everything evened up. Okay, so we're going to do the other side and then we'll come back. Oh, before I go away, another thing that I'm going to be working on is this back plate from the Paragraphics kit. It goes on top of the rim of this bulkhead, and I want it to fit inside. There's some little pins inside this bulkhead. I want this plate to fit inside of this bulkhead rather than laying on top here. And if you look at an interior shot of the Eagle, this can afford to be smaller inside of here. This is where actually it's going to mate up with the back of the command module. So if it's actually sitting on top of that, it would stop this piece from being able to mate with the back of the command module. So I'm going to be doing that also. So when I come back, I'll have the window the windows will be all finished. We'll have this together, ready to do final paint, assemble the command module. One other thing that I did is that I got my lighting in. So this is from a place called Evan Designs. And what's nice about that place is that in this little kit here, I don't have a lot of lights in this. I'm not using light tape. So in this kit, I actually get everything I need to set up lights. So I've got some heat shrink tube in there. I actually use this liquid tape most of the time anyway, because it's a really, really good light sealer, and also it goes everywhere that I want it to. I don't have to worry about having a piece of this heat shrink on my wire and then shrinking it down, because sometimes I forget that. So this is a good pickup, is this liquid tape. Any home improvement store, any hardware store, it's just liquid electrical tape, so it dries and it's got a rubbery kind of consistency to it, and it's a really good insulator. Okay, so these lights are going to be the lights for the landing pads. These are called, oh, I'm going to have to now look it up. All right. These are called Pico. So when you go on to the website, you can build your own custom lighting setup here. And basically I ordered 4 cool white Pico SMDs, and that's what these are, and they're going to go into the landing pads. And they're very, very small, but they're going to throw a lot of light. And this is a warm white nano that's going to go into the command module. So this is going to get mounted up into here. I'll also have this mounted. I'll be ready to go to final paint and seal up on this when I come back. And we'll talk more about this as we go on, but what I really, really like about this Evan Designs is that you can get these pre-wired for 3 volt, and then you get this little chip battery holder and a micro switch in this right here. So this is going to, my chip battery is going to go in here, and then I've got this switch, so I can mount this switch anywhere I want. I can cut this wire, make it longer, whatever I want to do. But this is very small, and I can house this inside of the Eagle, probably in the transport module, somewhere where I can easily get at this with some system that I'll build to be able to get into the model. And this will be self-contained, so I won't have an external power source like I do on other builds when I'm using many more lights. Okay, so when we come back, we'll be about ready to seal up this command module. Okay, so I just wanted to give a quick update of where we're at. We're not quite ready to seal up the entire command module, but I have a coat of black on the inside. I have a coat of black on the inside of the command module, which to light block, and then we'll go over with white. So this is together now, and the windows are drilled out, which you'll see when I take the tape off. But a coat of black first to seal everything up, light block it, and then a coat of white to be able to diffuse light. This is our nano sized SMD that's going to go inside of the nose of the command module. And then here is the bulkhead for the Paragraphics photo etch. I whittled this down so that it would go inside of this back bulkhead. Now, if you want to, what I realized is you could bolt this or glue this to the inside rim of this rear bulkhead, and then there are 2 guides that slide into, since that's painted black you won't be able to see them, but slide into these 2 notches in this rear bulkhead. If you removed those from this front nose piece, then you could mount this PE bulkhead to this flat and sandwich it in there, and that would have been okay too. Again, I ground this down, which was obviously not the easiest thing to do. Grinding photo etch is not the easiest thing to do. So then when I continue to look at it, I realized that it's meant to sit flush on the top of this rim, and then you have to remove the guides inside of this command module nose. So just for anybody who's going to do the build in the future, that might have been an easier way to go. I have my chairs, which are painted, so I'm not going to pick them up, that still need to be mounted. And then once those are mounted, then we'll be ready to go ahead and seal this up. I still need to cut out the windows also. I don't know if I'm going to do that first or not. Just a word on this cage piece that's going to go now mounted into this is the service module that's going to go directly behind this. This is the front of that cage piece. When I glued this down, these latches down, you need to go ahead and mate this to them. So glue this together at the same time to make sure that everything is lined up. And then once I did that, what I realized was that my rear bulkhead was a little bit off of being square, which is not going to be a big deal. That's never ever going to be seen because that's going to go up against that service module anyway, and the only way that anybody would ever see that is if you took this off, and I'm going to go ahead and mount this, so it's not going to be detachable. But what I need to do now is glue the seats in, and then I still need to make windows for the nose piece, and we will be ready to seal this up, and I will have you guys back when we're ready to do that. Okay, at this point, we are ready to mount our light into the nose and attach our back wall. And I've been prepping the surface here of the command module, and I went back and used an etching tool. So this is makes panel lines, etches lines in plastic. I've been using an etching tool around the edge of this rear wall here to reinforce these lines of these large panels, because this is really what makes the eagle, and I don't want to lose any of this. So I'm going around and etching it with this etching tool, especially here on these edges where I sanded this down quite a bit and really got to the point where I was losing some of this surface detail, and I don't want to do that. So I've been going through with the etching tool and then going back with the unsharp edge of the back edge of an X-Acto and just cleaning that up, making sure that I've got a good panel line there. Again, because this is what really makes the eagle stand out. You don't want to lose any of that. So if you did a lot of sanding when you were prepping these surfaces, as I did, because I tend to make a lot of mistakes, then I have to go back and correct. I've gone around and reinforced those lines. Now, the last thing I'm going to do before I mount the light and actually close this physically up is I'm going to go through with some Mr. Surfacer. I've got 500 here, Mr. Surfacer 500, Mr. Surfacer 1200. So the higher the number, the finer the primer. So this is sealer primer, and I'm just going to paint this line here and then just hit that real quick with a really fine grade sandpaper. And then I will be ready to mount the light and close everything up. And we'll be back to do the final reveal of that. Okay, so we have the command module all sealed up. Everything is inside. And what we're going to do is mask these windows, and then we're going to hit this with a coat of primer. I'm going to go with the gray primer first, and then I'm going to coat the whole thing in black and then go back over it. Actually, I think I'm going to go black first, and then I'm going to go over it in the light gray primer, and then I'm going to come back and do some panel centers with a wider color. So we will be back after I get the first coat of primer on. Okay, so the black is on the command module, and now we're going to use this gray primer to brush over it. And what we'll do is try and make sure that we do more on the raised panels, and what we'll get is a shading, and then we're going to fill these panels in the center with a little bit brighter white color. And what that does is gives us a gradient effect that forces your perspective to see depth, and that's going to help us to have these deeper recessed lines. They'll be a little bit darker, and that'll make the model look like it's a little bit more 3D. So we're going to use our handy dandy mask that we got from Lou over at Aztec Dummy to mask off the areas here on the command module that I want to remain black. So we have these handy masks here. These are made out of vinyl, and basically what we do is we find the area that we want to mask off. And so I don't know how well this translates onto the camera, but right here I have the 4 areas that are for these 4 indents in the command module. And I have the backs here that give us the white frame around the windows. I'm not going to use those because I still have my Paragraphics kit here that has these windows in it. And so I'll use the masks on these when I get ready to paint these. And on these upper windows, I won't need a mask because I've already cut the centers of those out. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and spray on this surface primer and mask this off first. That's what I was working on. So what I'm going to do is just pull off one of these masks with an X-Acto, the sharp blade of an X-Acto. She speaks to us now from New York. Are you watching television right now, or are you looking at the images of the embassy? What's your reaction? My reaction is so that's the first mask. And so what I'll do is take this mask and put it here where I want the black to remain black. What are some of those things? Well, there are lists that are going around of people who not only worked for the U.S. military or directly for the embassy, but who worked for implementers, people who were the face of the ideals of, free speech. I didn't quite get that on exactly where I wanted it. No plan to be able to get people out. To use the Department of Defense forces that are there to help embassy people, use those to help keep the MCM airport open in order to allow both commercial flights and special charter evacuations to occur. Was there any way that the U.S. could have processed the number of special visas they were talking about anyway?
We should have been faster about them for the last couple of years, of course, and there was no way with this timeline of the Taliban takeover that we could have followed all of the 14 or 17 steps of a special immigrant visa the way it was originally designed, which means the design should have been changed to meet the needs of the moment. How do diplomats go about doing their work as a transfer of power from President
And you want to make sure that you're doing this very, very meticulously, because you're only going to get one shot. So don't say you're done until you really feel like that you're done. All right, this is your model. You get to do whatever you want on your model, just like Bob Ross used to say. This is your happy place. Make it your own. Okay? So I've got that first mask down, and I'll come back after I've got the mask complete and show you that. So the masks come off of this sheet, and then we place them on the model. And once we do that, we can go back and now spray our brighter primer or lighter gray coat, and I will come back and show you the finished mask product, and then we will spray our primer. Okay, so we have the masks all applied on the command module. So we're going to go ahead and spray our gray, and I will show you that. And once we're done with that, I think we'll end this section. The command module will essentially, for all intents and purposes, be complete, and we'll be moving on to the service module and everything that is behind that. So I will be back with you guys in just a minute to show you the gray on the command module. Okay, so as you can see here, I have applied my gray, and I went ahead and dried that about 80% with the heat gun. Again, I can't emphasize enough, if you are going to use a heat source, whether it's a heat gun or even a blow dryer, to dry your paint, it's fine, and it works great, and it gives you the ability to see what you're doing much more quickly, so that you can do something else or make a correction. So there's a lot of advantages, but you got to be very careful. I've melted plastic. Everybody that I know who's ever used heat to dry paint has melted plastic. Excuse me. So you got to really get the feel for that. But I actually am loving this color enough that I think I might just go ahead and shoot a little bit of lighter white, or even maybe with just one little dab of black to make a very, very light gray in the hearts of these panels. But I think that I like this color uh, as mostly my finished color for my eagle. I've always thought of an eagle as a very light gray more than a white. If you look at the pictures, well, these are artist renderings. Um, Here's a picture of the eagle. I don't know how well that's coming through on the camera, on a launch pad, and obviously it is meant to look very white, but because the moon is gray and there's so much gray in the series, I've always thought of the eagle as a very, very light gray. Okay, as I said, I think I'm going to end this series here. We're going to call the command module now complete, and the next time we come back, we will be working on everything that is behind the command module, and you'll be able to see this as a completed, more finished product. All right, hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you next time. hopefully you enjoyed the presentation, the content that I'm putting out. And again, as always, if you did enjoy it, please subscribe. And if you want to hit the notification bell, and that way you'll never miss an update, even though, again, I know it takes a little while for me to be able to put out new content. And please look around the site, look through some of the psychology content. Maybe that's something that you would enjoy as well. And as always, if it's Friday, it's Sunday.